just say the
Yes. Firstly, Maria would like to share with you one information. Maria, please.
Basically, the password for the Wi-Fi is 0102030405.
Easy for engineers.
Easy. I think it's quite easy. You can remember it.
Elementary.
Do you want?
Okay. I hope it will work. Yeah?
I have tried it, so
Okay.
it works.
Okay. It's proved information.
Yeah.
We start again after a coffee break. Firstly, I would like to give floor to Nicola Monda. Nicola, please go to the microphone. The case will be about the Association of Civil Engineers of Mediterranean Sea.
Okay. First, President, I will thank you for the time you are giving me for to present this initiative. As most of you know, 2 years ago we had a meeting in Italy, in Lecce, promoted from CNI and I, to set up a network among all the engineering organizations in Mediterranean countries. The purpose was to get up an association. You know, the objective was really very hard. You know, all the problems in the Mediterranean area. But with the very important help of the WFAO, and in this occasion, I have formally thanks Marwan Abdelhamid, President of WFAO, who really helped us to get these results. Because now we have the results, because we have found that we have the association. At the beginning was the network of the associations. Now there is no S. There is an association of organization of engineering in the Mediterranean area. And we have a statute. And we have the formally, let's say, the card of the EAMC. And the president at the moment is Professor Adel Aladiti, who is the president in charge of the general secretary of the Federation of Arab Organization of Engineers. So you can understand the value of this initiative. This is an organization of national organization, not only civil, but we have in the statute the possibility that the federation of the area can join as member this association. Because, you know, in the Arab region, the Federation of Arab Engineers is very important. So they asked us to become a member of the association. And so I asked that one of the European association can be member of the association. And I have to thank ECHE, that from the beginning, and at the moment was Vassili Economopoulos, the leader of this initiative, that always has supported this initiative of CNI. So now we have the association, we have the statute, and we have set up very important things. That's the purpose of this initiative, the technical committees. Because we are setting up, we have now technical committees with we have 4 technical committees at the moment. 2 of them as the chairman of the European region. 2 of them as the chairman of Arab region. But all these committee can work with the engineers come from Europe and from Arab region. So you can understand the value of this initiative, because we can stand up some committees and we can work on these items very important as water, as energy, and the education and the environment all together. So we have a more important contact among all the organization. So first, I have to thank the ECHE. I hope you will join as a European association, this European Federation, this association, and I'm asking you to work at your national organization to join this association as member. And I think that civil association can join anyway the association as an observer. Okay? So thank you for everything, for this attention, and see you in Egypt, because we have the next General Assembly in Cairo, from 7 to 9 May. You'll find on the table the formal convocation of the president, Professor Adel Al-Aditi, and I think most of you can join us in Cairo next May. We assure our security. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola.
Probably President Marwan.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicola. I would like to continue this issue. It's not new for us because we were involved in this initiative just from the beginning, as Nicola mentioned. And I would like to ask you for a decision because my suggestion is to make a decision by General Assembly to join this initiative as a observer, because the full member is reserved for national organizations. For organizations like we are, the statute of observer is proper. If we can vote for this decision now, or maybe you need some time for discussion or deliberation and thinking about this initiative, who would like to say something on this topic? I cannot see. So I understand that we are ready for voting concerning our membership as an observer, with statute of observer in association, engineering associations of Mediterranean countries. Observer, Nicola, observer. It is proper status for us. I would like to ask you, who is for joining this initiative as an observer? Please raise the hand up. Thank you. Who is against? So I can announce that anonymously, we made a decision concerning our membership in engineering associations of Mediterranean countries as an observer. Thank you very much, Nicola. Thank you. Now we can come back to our schedule. Fernando, please take the floor.
Okay, the card is here. Now we need to make it alive. During this period, we have worked mainly with technical problems to produce it. We, as you can see, the final version, it will be close to the lower one. You see there. We had at the beginning some printing problems with the company, and she offered us the upper solution, but at the end they solved the problems, and we finalized with the lower solution. So it's a uniform situation. The advantage of this solution is that later on we can put here on this zone a ship and when we have connections with the national associations, as you know, for professional recognition according to you, you need to have to be integrated in an international system connecting all the chambers. And your digital information, let us say, must be in those chambers. So the card allows that you have here a sheet where that information can be put off. That is later on, we just leave the space for it for now. In terms of solution, show me the next slide. Okay. At the end, the only difference is in the back part where we have academic data. We are going to put civil engineer degrees, but we just open there white space, and you can put all the degrees up to 4 that you have. Okay? So we don't indicate in this solution you still have MSc, PhD, and so on, but now it's open and you indicate, because in Europe we have different types of degrees and so on. So you indicate there the type of degrees that you have.
Integrated.
Yeah, so you hide. Okay, so we don't indicate fixed degrees. You have a white line where you put the indication of your degrees after the number of years of that degree, after the year when you got that degree, and below that the university where you got that degree. And you have 4 hypotheses to do. So if you have up to 4 degrees, you can indicate that. If you have more than 4, you choose the best one. Okay, so that is the idea of the card. So this is just speaking about aesthetics. Now the connection with the printing office is more it's defined. So we are in conditions of producing cards. Now how can we get the card? Each one of you. So yeah, we can begin. Basically, no, you can begin that. Basically, the idea now is the card is only produced for members for individual members, associate members, that belong to members of ECHA, okay? Must be persons, engineers, that belong to ECHA members, okay? In the second step, we'll open it to any person that is a civil engineer. But for now, we are going just to open it to persons, civil engineers that are ECHA members. So if someone wants to get the card, he can do it. He can apply it directly to ECHA, or he can apply it through the national organization. And what he must send first is a document like that, where he just says that I want to be associate member of ECHA. Okay? I put just here a form, normal form. Can you go on, please? The second form is the information that is in the card. Okay, this is not updated with last version, but you need to fill all these forms.
Basically, one thing we need to say is that they will have to fill in an Excel sheet, not like this.
It won't be like this. It
will be an Excel sheet because we need to send it to the company.
To keep the data information and so on, but it will be something similar to that. And next one, well, it's payment. We are going to discuss payment. I'll be back to this one later on. And the last one is the proof that the person is a civil engineer. Okay? And how do we get that proof? There are 2 ways. If you belong to a national association where you have your own card showing that you are a civil engineer, you just send a copy of that card. If not, we ask to have a declaration of this kind from the national organization saying that fact, Mr. Sangui is member of our organization and he is a civil engineer. That's all we want. And like that, we produce this card. Okay? Any questions? We are going to
Well, the question is like this. For example, in the Polish Chamber of Civil Engineers, we have 115,000 members.
Okay?
Every year, every month, some of them they are leaving and some of them they are joining us. There is a movement of this. How could we keep it under control?
No, that is your problem, not ours.
Okay.
All we want is that you say that it's civil engineer. No. And
You understand, 100,000.
but you need to have your funds updated. That's all I want.
We then need a special department following this.
No, but you don't know who are your members.
Yes, we are. We know. We know.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it will be quite complicated.
It's a national problem. And look, yeah, as a matter of fact, for us, ECA, all we want to know is if that person is a civil engineer. Okay?
I understand perfectly, but it makes it as order.
So, no more questions about this. So basically, what you have to do is we need to receive those four sheets. One asking to be member, second one with all the data. The first one I forgot to say, you ask to be member and you declare that the information that you are sending is true. Okay? Anyway, the second, and basically the information we get is personal information and the academic degrees. Okay? Second sheet is the information. Third one is payment, and fourth one is declaration from the chamber. Yes.
So the all local chambers have to send the list of their members every year. So if somebody applies via ECC directly, so you don't know if this person is a member of the national chamber or not.
No, you can apply directly to us, but you need to go to your chamber before to get that card, because to get that declaration. The declaration must come always from the national chamber. Okay? One thing is to give the information to the chamber, and the chamber sends to ECA. But if you don't want to do that, you go to the chamber. Please declare that I'm a civil engineer. You pick up that and you send directly to ECA. Okay? Anyway, it needs to pass always through the national chamber. Okay?
Once somebody has had the card,
Yeah.
which proves them to be a competent practicing engineer, if the next year, as was suggested, they no longer are a member of ICE, we then tell you, we then cancel for you. Is it up to us to say cancel? Because you will still have the card.
Look, yes, if he has the card and the card is valid when he registers with us, and if he pays the fees to us, he is our member. Because he's civil engineer, it's not compulsory that he is your member, you see? But because what we want for us, what is important is he is civil engineer. We need to have some information that member is a civil engineer. That is the important thing. Of course, we want that all our members are also national members.
I think the slight difference, I think, maybe for us is the fact that for him to be a practicing civil engineer in the UK, he has to be registered with the Engineering Council and pay the fee. If he stops doing that, we don't recognise him as an engineer, civil engineer. Because it's not the qualification we recognise, it's his proficiency. So you would have to.
And you are aware of that he is not anymore civil engineer? Yeah, you are. So in those cases, you need to inform us. Because what we say here is that he is a civil engineer. And if you say that he is not a civil engineer, you should inform us.
I think the slight concern from us, which is one person, is not a problem. The slight concern for us was once he's got the card,
Yeah.
it says he's a European civil engineer. He can work anywhere in Europe without any further.
No, you cannot. Look, this is not a professional card. Okay?
Yes.
This is a membership card.
So what function does that have? Just say you have Rebecca.
It's never for now, it's just that it's first step, because the things that you are saying is very cheap. It's not that.
Fernando, please explain that that membership card of ECE, it is the consequence of our changes in bylaws, opening our organization for individual membership. With, yes, of ECE with status similar to associate members.
Because the professional card is the next step when you impose it, that connection with the national database.
In addition to what has been discussed of the updating of the information, one thing that has been addressed under EU standards is that there's a need for accountability for the professionals in each chamber. On a second stage, one thing that is to be addressed is, and this has happened for us, in Spain, is that you will always be able to check the current professional situation on a public website. You won't have the direct data, but you will be known if there is any court ruling against him, or if there is any other element that is restraining for practice. I mean, the card itself wouldn't mean that you are rather that you pay your fee. That afterwards check, which we're working on the second stage, would be able for any chamber or any other organization who may require that update to check that so-called website to address what is the current status of membership of the profession.
So because here, the person has here the national registration. If she's a member of ICE, there's the number in ICE. So for any company, it's easier that what information do you have about this person? But it's a membership, it's not perfect. You cannot go to a country and say, yes, like that, and work there. Please.
You say that at the beginning, this is open for the members of ECE. How about the associate members like the Association of Civil Engineers of Romania?
The idea that we put is just for members. It's up to the assemblies to vote.
No, Romania is a very typical case. The association, they have cards in Romania, so it will be quite easy.
The decisions are not mine.
No.
It's Channel 7. So if we decide that the card can be extended to all the associate members.
Not all, because some associate members could be a university, you said, which is not.
So what is different? How do we separate?
No. Two associate members, which are organization of civil engineers, like the Romanian Association.
Yeah, on my side, one of the discussions that were brought up in the same committee, I mean, this is not a final stage. I mean, the fact is, what we were taking into account was the procedures, to be able to have a streamlined procedure to bring it up to life. I mean, it's not on the fact of being an associate member or a full member. That's not the case. What we were somehow working out is how to be able to introduce and implement this type of program card, to be able to make it extensive and have the correct check for the competent authorities. That is basically
Yes.
our
Why you are interested to have as many engineers as ECE member as possible, and why to exclude from the very beginning?
No.
Or to limit?
I exclude in the first step. You had the same problem with France. I was discussing that with France. Yeah.
Is there any information about experience from this car? Any judgment, maybe, of interest?
Well, I'll put it in another way. What is the risk? We had several persons that are interested in that kind of. We did do let us say, a market survey. No, we did. Please.
If I understand correctly, this is the first step, this membership. But to what way it is to professional card? What do you think about professional card? Some years ago we discussed about professional card. What the future plan?
Professional card does not depend from that. Professional card is a professional card sought by you. It's only professional card.
No, European professional card.
Exactly, it's from you, from Brussels. It's the one,
Yeah.
it's what is called the professional card. That professional card to be implemented we must have an agreement among chambers, national chambers, and with an informatics system where all the information of the engineers are in each chamber with mutual recognition. So that does not depend from us, depends from the national chamber. All we can do is to make the national chambers aware of them. And of course, as those national zones are the same chambers that are members of ECA, of course, we think that when that thing is implemented, can be implemented also here in this country, because the members are the same.
Those for fun, just report back, what is the function of the membership club?
It is,
Like a club?
huh?
Like a club?
It's like a club.
But who do you show it to?
To whom it may concern. To whom it may concern.
For example, one of the things we're implementing of the introductions, I'm talking from someone, what we're holding is, if most of the elements regarding temporalization, one of the elements we require is proof of qualification from national companies. Normally, one of the problems that are being addressed is basically that when you have to issue a certificate from a chamber in another language to make it different. On such grounds, some of the activities we're working on, and on a pilot project we will handle bilateral agreements between Orange Engineering and Colegio, is to be able to overcome reducing paperwork by the element of the number of.
I think you have to, because nowadays the process, programming, that all our professional requirements in the software, because that anyway.
That software can be incorporated.
Yes,
In the future, we are trying to do the first step.
Yes, that this information will remain within the standard of EMI. What we're trying to do is, for the time being until that EMI is working, there are some countries, for example, in Spain, we're working directly with the people integrated for IMI. So the idea is to be able to hold the same standards so that such information will be available to bring up with I would say, the elements or documentation will be addressed for the new party. So it will be an element that would be apart or parallel to the EU initiative, but would be to be able to combine.
And remember one thing, this is voluntary, not this. You don't need to go in there.
What I'm saying is, by this time, eventually, but the current aim is to say you have a card as a member vetting. If they're always seen as a member vetting.
No, if you don't feel nice, then you don't have.
No, I'm not, just part of it.
I'd like to mention something. I would suggest that this association passes much more through the national association, because it will be a motivation for strengthen the links between us and the national.
What you are suggesting is that to apply, it's
Yes,
always.
to apply
be-
to the association.
I have not.
If such association exists.
No, as a matter of fact, because relatively speaking, I didn't speak yet about this, but national associations are going to get part of this.
Because what is the main characteristic of this card is the status of civil engineer. Because it's not a professional card, it's not ring, it's there are a lot of cards now on the air, and so what is the special about this card is the profession. Let's see, the field of engineering, not the profession yet. So this is the main characteristic on which it must be built, civil engineering. And I would suggest that such membership card, which is given as a membership proof, should be accompanied by a small booklet of what is civil engineering, bylaws of the civil engineering of here, and maybe some other. I would suggest even the common civil engineering heritage about Europe, which is one of the common characteristics that we are now built this organization on, and should pass mainly through national organization. These are my suggestions.
I have no problem.
Because it's clear that it's not a professional card, it is a card who tries to give, to make the access of the personality of the civil engineer, and as such, it should be accompanied by something.
The thing is, I don't want my surcharge in the national organization, because the other side is national organization. I have more work with this.
National organizations should share a part of the.
But basically,
that will be the motivation.
Basically, the activity of national organizations is just to declare that that person is civil engineer.
Yes, and to give publicity to that. Yeah. I mean, otherwise it will not work.
Okay, so basically, this is the concept of the card. Now, about the fees. Well, these were the fees that appeared from the Expo. Basically, it was an annual fee of what is proposed here, 55 euros. If you pay 5 years in a row, it will be 250. There is here a discount. And yesterday, in these situations, you have an offer of one print book extra. There is a suggestion of people with more than 65 years that will be unlimited card, don't pay any money. Well, but it's open, so please. I can tell you that the idea is to give 20% of this fee to the national organization. Okay? And the production cost, just to have an idea, the production cost of this is not include man hours, okay? Because there are Maria's work on these things. There must be some of our members perhaps have to look at the documents to see if they are okay, at least in the chamber organization, like that. So just the printing, production, and so on, it is about €5 per card. Just to give you all of them. Okay, so comments on these numbers?
Excuse me, sir. 55 hours a year, every year.
Yes.
Every year.
Every year. Or for 5 years you have 10%.
And for these who are older than 65?
Now we just pay 65 and after pay once and after.
Let me ask you a question, just so I can go back and sell this to our membership. What do you get for your 55 euros? What services do you get without being member?
You become associated with our profession. So you can come to this general assembly to receive our newsletter. It's all that the members get. Because you become a member of ECA, except you don't have voting time.
Because that was a good question. We need to sell this product to our members. So we need a good article of what the benefits will be in order to tell to our members, you will pay these 55 euros yearly, but this is what you are going to gain from that.
So basic. No.
And our members, they don't have to pay much.
Can you go up a little bit? Okay. So but basically what we are saying here is You, you became an active member without voting rights. I can ask also why you pay your fees. It's sad.
But this is for nations, for organizations. Now,
Because we have to promote civil engineering. Every individual.
And look, and I'm open to all the good ideas that we can sell. I think yeah, some rules, but
I'm
it's
saying
open.
the 55
You consider it's too much.
fee is, would be reasonable for a 3-year.
No. Look, we are an assembly, so we decide.
Yeah, well, but don't you think that it will be very wise to discuss it in details and then to send it to the national delegations to consider what it is? Because we are going represented. We are going to vote just now, and then we involve ECC in some problems, I think, because we involve in the money, transfer of money, some cards. Some people will come, some will leave, and it will make some movement and so on and so on.
Fernando, one proposal that I think that may seem fit is that the idea is to be able to somehow bring it alive. So one option that would be those several delegations who may need further discussion. I think that there's also a need. I mean, the executive committee itself and the work that Fernando Branco has done has been huge, but it needs a further. We need further thinking to everybody to be comfortable with that. So, and especially on the discussion of what you were discussing about the fees or what should be added or what, because the membership fees in the different countries are quite different. So, an option of that is, let's put this voting through, and any member organizations who would like to be in this scheme at this moment at this level of maturity or ripening, so busy. I mean, unless you are comfortable with the issue, for example, like previous colleague said, it's quite difficult if you are not really convinced yourself of the product. It's very difficult for you to sell it. So I think that the best way to get examples is to work on pilot projects and collaborations to make this card available. So one thing we should bear in mind, and I think I think some of
If we consider that all the cards need to pass through the national organization, if they don't agree, they don't pass. So the system is automatically controlled.
Well, the idea is if you like to introduce it, it means everywhere in our member organizations. We don't say no. So if only some of them will introduce it, is it a good idea?
What is the problem if some of the members from other countries want to be individual members and from Poland they don't want?
No, I didn't say that we don't want to be.
No. I'm taking it as an example. Sorry. Or from any other country.
bring Spanish.
Please.
Fernando, with all due respect to the effort you put in this car, I have a simple question. Is there any demand for such a car?
Yes, demands from several members. Yes.
Good. Go ahead with those members.
Yeah, that's what I'm working with. Yeah.
I think this card shall help civil engineers to work also abroad within the countries of ECE members, for example. For this reason, I think it could be very helpful to come up with a new edition of the book we made in 2005, Civil Engineering Profession in Europe. Then you have it on paper, what to do to enter another association.
No, it's the idea, I think it was you that put it. We have a kind of booklet associated with the car. I think it's a good idea. Alice did the same idea, and I think it's a good idea. Alice said that it's a good idea. We have a booklet accompanying this, thinking about civil engineering in general. Yeah. I think it's a good idea. Well, but look, I would like to have an idea about the fees, because at the end, money is money. Yeah? So, you said that you consider that should be a bit lower. There are other opinions. If you don't express your opinions, the others consider that is okay. Anyway, I would like to have a vote, I think, yeah, under this project.
Yes. I think yes.
Let's make it clear, the individual membership will not be obligatory.
No, no.
No, but because look, we are speaking about associate members, it's not the members of it. Okay? It's associate members. It's completely voluntary.
How can we, our members, say what are the benefits? That they will pay every year 55.
And the benefits for what? The benefits is to be member of, associate member of it. They have individual decided.
They are looking for material.
Why are you member now? Why are you member of it?
Well, we are not individual member. We are
okay, but as
association.
As an association.
Because as association, we can progress something in civil engineering. But as individual members, they are.
Now they can stay in this forum and discuss with us. It's the same thing. The only thing they don't have, the only difference between them and you, is they cannot vote.
No, I don't think so. I believe the only widely seen result is to have lists on web who is individual member, who is not, and some value of individuals. Other benefits now are not seen. Widely seen.
I put there the individuals. No, the individuals can come to our conferences, okay, come to our general assemblies. They will begin to receive our newsletter. They can access to our books that we produce, all the documents. Well, they are members of this club. We are, if we consider ourselves a kind of club, okay, they become members of this club. This is the concept, is association membership. They became members of this club.
Yeah, okay.
This is the main concept, where they don't become rich with this club or any other thing. It's basically that. So it's the value of being member of this club. If you discuss the value of this club, that is a different thing.
But if in 6 months, only 1 or 0.5% of our members try to get this card, it will diminish this value of this card.
Speaking about
That's
but
probably too early to have.
No, that type of questions will appear anytime.
Yeah, okay, I'm not against that. I'm just looking how to persuade our members to.
But for instance, that idea that to develop a kind of booklet speaking about civil engineering, about tech and so on, that goes with the card, it will facilitate.
You see, we have problems with our own national fees that are obligatory for our members, and these I don't see they will be willing to pay. So I think the result will be in 6 months, 0.5 or 1% of asking to be
1% of what?
Of, for instance, of our members. That will not be.
If you get 1% of your,
all
the members get 1% of these members, I think it was a good
Probably not.
In my opinion, it's promotion of this card is done the wrong way. We must say it will be such profit from this card. For example, approach to
to journals which are published in different countries, to lifelong learning materials, and such things will be offered to this associated member, and will be free approach to these things. There are some advantage. I'm a member of this organization. I have such profit, and in this case, I suppose that some people will be able to pay maybe a little bit more money for it. If, for example, I know it's Thomas Telford agency, there are some printed materials in electronic form, and it will be a lower price for these people, and use this money to support education and spreading of information for all our members. Because, for example, I am very often asked our chairman why we are in effect. It's effective for our chamber to be there. What is profit from this? I must say, I have information. I can obtain support from the different members, different countries. If I have some problem with our government, for example, they want to cancel chambers or these associations. And so it's very nice to be in a strong European family and obtain support for our activities and for development of civil engineering.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you, but it's a work that we all have to do.
But only
we need. Look, we are opening till last meeting. We were not open to individual members. Remember that. Now we decided to have that option. Okay.
But on the market are now planning cards, professional engineering cards, and different types of cards. And for example, I know that the planning try to spread over the Europe, and in Czech Republic, temporarily is 80 members of this organization. It's funny. And for example, in this slide is necessary to prove that we are members of some organization. Education, it's sufficient for this card will be prepared to go. We have from the law compulsory list of all members, and it's very easy to check that I'm on the list with such activities, and it's not necessary to give proof that I have education.
The problem is not the card. The problem is to have individual membership. The card appears because you become an individual membership. Okay, the objective is not the card. The objective is to have individual memberships.
I suppose that it's nice. But it's a card to have on the visit card that I am a member of the etc. But it's not sufficient to obtain a huge number.
Because the cost of the card, as I said, it's just €5. We are discussing the individual membership, not the card. Okay. Perhaps I introduced the thing in different way, but the objective is not the card, it's to have individual membership.
I think we should discuss what we are going to do with the income from this membership. Maybe you can have, on average, 100 members from each country. Let's say 2,500 members are going to have an income. So we could increase these benefits. Because with this income, it's not going to be part of the income of ECHE. It's going to be a part for these members. So it could make some benefit, extra benefit for these members.
But you are speaking
Maybe
about
new
the
addition, yes, add some more benefits because I'm going to have an income.
No, and the more than that, the parts that study in national members can, for instance, be reduced to the amount that they pay as members, as co-members.
Yeah, but the ECHE could add a discount for ECHE editions, some books.
No,
Maybe we can produce some more,
that is,
some information.
that
We
is
can
marketing,
fund this
that is marketing.
activities.
The market needs to be done.
Not on a national basis, on sector basis.
But first question, there's only one answer, is about cost.
Yeah.
Can we vote for that? With VAT or without VAT?
There is
What is the
no,
taxation?
there is no VAT because this is fees, they don't have VAT. It's membership fees. It's a just fee like any other member.
Gorazd, it is a membership fee, not the price of the card.
We are not selling cards. This is membership fee. That is the idea. So, you have a,
No, I should suggest that market the rules impose that at the beginning we must use the price. And see what comes. I mean, all these questions we have maybe will be answered by the practice. I mean, people should show if they need such a thing or not, or they appreciate that they can do something with it or not, or I suppose that it's a good idea. We should try to proceed with this, but I think that it is so expensive for just something that it's not yet has not yet proved its.
But the thing is, to vote, we need to have a proposal from you. What do you want? To make a discount? Make a number.
I don't know. I would say for the first application that the 55 euros should be for 3 year for 3 years membership. This is for one election period. Let's say this is.
So we are proposing a number around the 20 euros.
Yes, that's something like this.
Okay.
I would take note of what you said, that it's not about the card, but about having membership. It's like having the orange for Ferrari. I think that can attract members to consider the European civil engineers. Having a title belonging to the organization as members, as you said. More than the card. So if it's promoted, if your idea, which
I put it in the wrong way, I admit.
if it's put in that, from that point of view, I think it would be better, because then there are no issues, expenses for the card, or camping, or we'll focus more on what benefits there are, what is the purpose of this, because that is what the members want. So I think we have to focus on the purpose first, before going towards the card. That is focusing on the essence, the important thing which is in your proposal, rather than the physical output, which is a card, which I doubt people will use as a card.
Yeah.
But they would like it. Maybe they would like the title because there is a purpose.
But you all know what is the purpose of being individual memberships for decades. We have several associate members of ECHE, so it's that concept for individual persons. I'm not inventing anything here.
Well, if we call this membership card a European civil engineer, then we're in trouble. Because at the universities, there are student courses named European Civil Engineering. And the diploma gives the title, European Civil Engineering. And now we introduce this name to all of the members.
No, we're offering the membership in European Council of Civil
I understand
Engineers.
perfectly, but I've heard that on the card there will be a name. This gentleman, this lady, she is a European civil engineer.
If the individual had that kind of title, of course.
No, here we put the title, the national title. If you are not civil engineer in your family, put here your title.
So-
Here we put the title as the national title.
But because we are discussing about the added values, the added value is coming from the name European civil engineer. No, we cannot put it. We can put only the national title.
Of course.
Which is in diploma.
Of course, we are doing this.
Maybe that our colleague misunderstood.
No.
It's what is written here.
We're not giving a title. We are, putting on the card the title which individual have in your country.
We have here the European Council. The young thing is the European Council. The other thing is the personal title. Well,
can we put it on this way? Plastic card is not matter. What is counting is list on web. That is widely open to see to everyone who is the individual member of ECC.
Mhm.
Will be that, in that way that the list will be opened to everyone to see.
Yeah, but
That's
we
the-
will
the-
do
that's the
also.
only one.
Yeah, but that
Why
is-
then so high 55 per year for membership? I believe we must diminish these fees first time when the card will be
So what you are suggesting is the membership fee should be lower.
lower and put it on the list, which will be freely to see to it.
That is,
Yes, that's.
that's okay, okay. And we can look, if the price is €5, we also offer the card, there is no problem. If it is more, if the fee is more than €5. So we don't want to take it to lose. So what you're suggesting, if we have a number around €20 for the first year. Do you agree with this? Huh? Do you agree with this? Huh? Yes or no?
I believe no.
No?
No.
Do you want to make a proposal now? We need to vote because we cannot say yes. You want to,
Probably 10.
Okay. Remember that the idea is that the national organizations get 20% of the amount. Okay? So when you are producing everything, you are.
This list must be rearranged every year.
Yes.
And see who is the member and who is not.
There is no problem. So we have a proposal of €10 individual each year for each year. You made a proposal of €20 per member. There is any other proposal for membership fee? And we have the original proposal. Yeah?
Mhm.
Yes. So for that, I ask you to vote.
Do we ready to vote? I think so. I think so.
In order to be able to make it easier, I'm not sure easier or make it more confusing. I think that we should be able to vote apart from the fees and then vote the possible fees. Because I think there's some people that may be for or against the project. Or
Okay.
some other may be for or against the
I
fee.
would like to introduce the voting on this way.
Yes.
The first voting for all idea,
Yes,
and the second voting of possible proposition of fees.
yes, yes.
Mhm. Professor Materna. Alex.
I recommend to vote for the first time to continue in preparation of this event, and discussion about price is not so important in my opinion. Because it will depend on the activities which will be promised for future.
So we are discussing this for more than 1 year.
Yes, and I would like to ask you for the final decision during this meeting, because we have to finish anyway this issue and go on to the practice.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you for voting. It will be 2 voting sessions. The first one is concerning the whole idea, the whole project. The-
We have membership individuals.
In- yes,
That are accepted in the bylaws.
Yes, of course, the individual memberships. The card is only tangible evidence of the individual membership in our organization. So the second voting will be sacrificed to the issue of price. It's not good wording. It's not the price. It is a fee, membership fee. Membership fee. Okay. The first voting. Who is for involving the whole idea presented by Fernando, involving this idea to the practice? Please raise hand. Thank you. Who is against? 1, 2. So, by majority, we just accepted involving this idea of ECC membership card to the practice. Individual membership, individual, of course. Next, voting concerning the membership fee. The first proposition comes from executive board. It is 55 euros per year, and for 3 years, 5 years, 250. Yes. Who want to support this proposition? Please raise hand. The proposition, yes?
But it's better to say all the propositions that after you voted from.
Yes?
No, to say 3 propositions that it is. There is 1 proposition.
Uh-huh.
Let's just vote.
Do we have any other proposition for? Yes, please.
There is a proposition from Maris saying 20 euros. Yeah.
But you have already put it on the table. I propose that annual fee should be
20
Yes, in order to make a complete assessment on the grounds that you've got 55 euros per year or 255 years. In your case, you've got 20 euros per year. No, it's in order to proportional.
No, but we need to have a number. So we have
20,
50,
50 and 50 under forever for under 16. 5 years.
And this, but there is also the proposal of 10. So we have
Three propositions. 10 per year, 20 and 55. Bora.
55 per year.
Make a remark on this. 10, 20, 22, 25 are arbitrary numbers. So I think we should not forget that if it is below some number, it will reduce the value of it. So it's, I mean, you can take any mathematical number. It's not just technical numbers. There should be some value behind it.
Look,
And the price should support it.
Look, we need to think that also in eco-finances, yeah? And this is a way to, in certain way, to increase eco-finances, and in the same way, to reduce a little bit the cost for the members, because they get 50%, so they reduce the amount they pay to it, okay? That was our thought when we put 55. The assembly is the assembly, so you decide.
Low taxes bring money.
Huh?
Low taxes bring money.
Yes, it's up. So it's.
After this discussion.
Sorry?
Do you think it's useful to change your official decision after this discussion and propose that?
No, but the problem is, according to our bylaws, the fees must be approved in general.
Yes, but you can change your proposal.
No, I can change the
Three
proposal.
proposals now.
We have 3 proposals.
By the way, you just propose one. Then vote.
No, there are 55, 20, and 10. You want me to make another one?
What the board is proposing?
The board is proposing 55.
The proposal from the Expo is 55. It was discussed for many months, and executive board fully support this proposition. We have still only 3 propositions, and
I'm suggesting that the board can indicate generally assembly after the discussion what looks the best.
Now, what he's asking is what we think about the 3 proposals.
Yes, so you can vote one of them.
I just thought about this during your conversation, that executive board still supporting its own proposal, 55, because it was discussed for many weeks, many months, and discussed from many point of views, and we fully supporting our proposition.
Our thoughts are, look, for national organizations means that for each member, they may receive 10 euros. Less than 10 euros.
I know what you mean, okay?
See,
Okay.
that's that. We can improve for the member, like we are going to give books, things like that, yeah? So we reduce the theoretical.
Explain us
Okay.
how you increase amount of 55 euros. Just make account something.
No, but it was, so the idea basically is was to give at least 10 euros to the national organization. That is basically the 20%. Right? So that gives 40 euros for ECA, and what is good for our finances. You see tomorrow that our finances are not so well. That is another problem.
You can share the 20 euros as well.
Huh?
You can share the 20 euros as well.
Yeah, of course. No, of course I can share the 20 euros, but you will get only 4 euros.
For our position. I hope. Can we vote now? One remark. Executive board offered the full proposal, 1 year and 5 year, and we have only 2 words. One word is 10, the second word is 20, without further propositions. So I think the rest is simple multiplication. Yes. Okay. Let's start from the proposition of Expo. Who is supporting the proposition of Expo? Please raise hand. Wait a moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would like to ask you and remind you that the voting is only for full members. Sorry, guys. Please raise again hands. Full members. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How much? 6? Only 6. 6. Who would like to support the proposition of 10 euros per year? Please raise hand. 2. Who would like to support the proposition of 20 euros per year?
Only one from each country.
5, 6. Is it the same result for first proposition for the last? Okay, so
Just that we divide between 20 and 6.
so dear friends, we don't want, I hope, to lose our time. So we have to involve the final round of voting. We have on the table only 2 proposals: proposals of Expo and proposal of 20 per year. So we are voting again. I hope we made a final decision. Who is supporting the proposition of Expo? Please rise up. You want to say something?
Just one remark on the, if it is a tie, I'm gonna check if the president decides or not.
No, we make a second round. Because it was the previous vote, it was not money approved. So there was 3 options, so we need.
It was among 3 propositions, but now we eliminated the lowest one, and we are voting among 2. The first, yes, please.
We are in the situation, half of us voting for a number of a fee. The other half is for the something quite different. Why could we propose to vote for something intermediate?
No,
It's Italian proposal.
It's the best 6 and 6.
The worst thing that will happen is that those who voted for 10 will vote for 20 this time.
Yeah.
I must say, perhaps it's not, we we are discussing only a fee, but what you say is a question, and more in our country in Spain, is if you're gonna gather more people paying for you if you ask for a loan. So sometimes the final amount is high.
That's we are in
We are not in
European
the opposite
necessity.
side.
It's
Let's make clear, it's not opposite side. We just have
So
a
the final amount
different
perhaps
feeling
is high.
of how easily this car would.
More than €5.
Okay, okay, but we have to make the final decision.
Please
Uh,
vote. Please vote.
We are not the
Okay,
idea, but.
I finished discussion. Aris, stop. Please stop. Let's vote. Who would like to support the proposition of Expo? Please raise hand. Latvia, Portugal, Italy, Slovakia, Czech.
Can you raise your hands again, please?
Please.
1, 2, 3,
Six.
4,
No, seven,
5.
seven. There is one there. Sorry.
1, 2,
Seven.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Six, yes. No,
Six or
seven.
No,
Seven.
seven. No,
Seven.
Bora
Can-
cannot vote.
Yes.
Because National Delegate of Cyprus is voting. So please raise again hands. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
No, it's six. It's same six.
6. Okay. 6, 4.
Now,
Who would like to support the proposition of Jose 20? Aris? Okay. Okay, but never mind. Please raise hand. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
No,
6,
okay.
7, 8, 9,
No.
10. 10. So I'm announcing to you that we just decided that individual associated membership fee will be 20 euros per year. Finished. Thank you very much. I would like to inform you that several minutes ago, Nick Bevistock, General Director of ICE, joined our meeting. So if we consider that we have from the beginning Sean Harris, Director of Membership, so we can regard that ICE delegation is completed. Thank you. Let's go. Jose, I would like to ask you for a few minutes of patience, because I would like to give a floor now to our Georgian friends. They have something important to say to us. Please. Please come up to the microphone.
No, we'll come here.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you on behalf of Yuri Svanidze, President of the Georgian Organization of Civil Engineers, and organization itself, and wish you success in work. I'd like to thank you for admitting your readiness to implement seismic isolation of buildings in Georgia in resolution part of 61st General Assembly. Currently, I have brought the letter of the Mayor of Tbilisi, capital of Georgia, showing their gratefulness and readiness to actively get involved in protecting the material valuables and people from catastrophic earthquake. We hope that Mr. Massimo Marini will still be in charge of this noble activity and will be of effective assistance to us and our management. I want to emphasize the fact that the document Declaration of Madrid needs further specification. For example, through the whole document, there was only one page dedicated to seismic, despite the fact that the earthquakes take thousands of lives and causes millions of loss to humanity. How can we save existing buildings such as kindergartens, schools, hospitals, and etc. We have to use seismic isolation and produce the new constructions by means of seismic protection. That's why our advice would be to include the issue about seismic protection in ECC strategy. Vice President of Georgian Society of Civil Engineers, Mr. Malhaz Bediashvili. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe someone would like to comment this statement? If no, Jose, please take floor. The subject is T-type negotiations. I hope, Jose, that you allow to say some words to our friends from Texas.
Well, that was the idea, basically.
Okay,
so
great.
I want to be able to cut it short. In order to do this, I'm PowerPoint naked, so I'll be able to make it short enough. In order to give you further information regarding the last negotiation rounds regarding TTIP, the two negotiation rounds that have been held during the last months have been, the last one has been held in Brussels in March, and well, not in March, the end of February, and I presume during this next 2 weeks, it's going to be held another 11th negotiation round in the US. Regarding the elements of the potential discussion for including any type of professional recognition or mobility under the aegis of the free trade agreement or the Transatlantic Trade Investment Partnership, I can bring you some news. It's not about being good or bad news, but at least we've got news. I mean, if we can recall our last meeting, one of the elements that was discussed and presented by the EU negotiating team is that there was not enough leverage by member countries and institutions to present the need to bring to the table TTIP into the table for TTIP negotiations, the fact of professional services and engineering. And they considered that it was much more mature, the element regarding architecture. On these grounds, I can bring you this news, this breaking news that were brought up yesterday. But before that, I would like to comment on the rounds that, thankfully, through several contacts, we finally were able to engage with one of the most active licensing boards in the US, which has also the most predominant international action regarding professional mobility and experience regarding MRAs. So we were very lucky to be able to contact them. And so far, although Mr. Govin Nadkarni will bring some light on the issue, although we were working basically for the need to work out some bilateral agreements between Spain and Texas, basically because we didn't have yet the framework regarding TTIP, but we were still discussing the major concerns and interests as I presented the last meeting. We were making advances and progress. So bringing you the latest news is that somehow the US Trade Office has accepted to bring to the table, together with the EU negotiating team, the possibility of addressing professional engineering services at the rest of the basis for temporal licensure. So somehow this is a success, because in the end, we're bringing up to the table a topic which wasn't on the agenda in the last months. So in that case, we've been somehow successful. But this is the time when we need to be together, and we will request the better your contributions on the grounds that we need to be able to work for an agreement which would be able to increase our interests on both sides of the Atlantic, but also to be able to somehow fail-safe our concerns, not only for ourselves, not only for our citizens, not only for our institutions, but also for the final service to be done for the welfare of our populations. So thank you. Govin, would you mind bringing up here and bringing some of the expertise that had been already addressed by the Texas Professional Board in several other FTAs, and how the potential advances that we've been working either bilaterally or the pure experience regarding MRAs on temporary licensure with other countries. You know, it seems that TTIP negotiations are without PowerPoint, so I mean.
Thank you, Jose Francisco. As you said, my name is Govin Nadkarni. I'm a past chairman of Engineering Licensing Board for State of Texas, and also a past board member of NCAAS, which is National Council of Examiners for Engineers and Surveyors in the United States. Texas has been more active in mobility of licensure. We have the MRAs with Australia, Canada, Japan, and we are ready to sign one on March 10th with Korea. I want to make it clear to everyone that this agreement is only with state of Texas and no other states in the United States. Every state in the United States has their own laws for the licensure. They're pretty close to each other, but there are still some differences. And when you have a licensure in one state, it doesn't mean that you get the license in other state automatically. You have to fill out the paperwork, you have to fill out the forms, you have to qualify for the requirements that each state has of their own. NCAAS has come out and set up what they call a database where you can submit all your paperwork that when you graduated, what your syllabus was when you graduated, what your exam dates were, when you took the EIT exam, when you took the PNP exam, all that information goes into the database. And that database then can be transferred to each state to get your mobility in the different states. Each state may have a different requirement, mainly of what we talked about, the lifelong learning basis, which is what we call a continuing education. Each state has their own requirement. Texas has to do that yearly basis. Oklahoma has to do it 2-year basis. Our colleague yesterday mentioned from Puerto Rico, they have on 5-year basis. But they have all that information that you have to provide to keep your licensure continuous. Now, going back to the mobility side of it, Spain approached us and said that we would like to have an MRA eventually with Texas. And so we started discussing with them, but we have the other licensure agreement with other countries, which I mentioned earlier, is mainly based on the free trade agreement. There is no free trade agreement at that time, or the language for the engineering side of it between European countries and United States. Jose Francisco mentioned yesterday to us that there is a talk and maybe a possibility that that agreement may be signed between the United States and the European countries. And if that happens, then it makes it, I'm not going to say it's easier, but it's more better, to get that agreement going with the European countries. One other thing that I would come out and say is Texas has not only the civil engineers as a licensure situation. Texas Board of Licensing, Professional Engineering Licensing provides the licensure for all the branches of engineering. And we have, some of you were there yesterday, some of you were not, but Bobby mentioned that we have 9 board members on our licensing board, which is appointed by Governor of State of Texas. Out of 9, 6 are professional engineers and 3 are the public members. Public members normally look for the interest of the general public and the other members. Not that PE members don't, but they will require that we just don't go and make the agreement only with one branch of engineering. In this saying that what we talked to Spain was, we will start working with you on the civil side of it, and I see the title European Council of Civil Engineers. So if the situation arises that we can start talking with the civil engineering branch, because majority of the places where the licensure are, 50 to 70% engineers who are the member are civil engineers. Same thing with Texas. Same thing with majority of the states in the United States. So it's not going to be any bad situation to start talking to it, but our board will eventually want to have that agreement with all the branches of engineering in that particular country or the European Council, because that's one of the things that we talked about with our governor's office and our Secretary of States and other places. So based on it, I think it will make it easier if TTIP and agreement happens and both the sides of the trade takes place. Our experience, I was involved in all of the agreements that we have done, starting from Australia, Canada. We are working with Mexico. Mexico is not finalized. Mr. Colon had come out and said that he will help us along with Mr. Alfonso. I think he left already, I believe. So we are going to talk about our agreement with Mexico, redo it again, like I said, Korea. But we have very, very successful on that side of it. We are very open, we are very aggressive state in our United States Union, and hopefully this works out. Now, if you have any question, I can answer. It was very impromptu that I was asked to talk about this. So I'm just giving my experience and what my ideas were. So. Lance, Lance is our executive director. Lance, you want to add anything what I said?
No, I think I was ready to say everything, but Tobin has covered everything so far. So I think it's good. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little bit astonished for the offer to cooperate in this way, because I think one of the needle ears is the Washington Accord, and every student has to go through this needle ear and has to follow the demands of education. For example, in Germany, we have a very strong accreditation agency, EASI, and they did a very good job all over the world to enter the Washington Accord, but nothing happened. They are freezed out, let's say, after years of engagement. So if Texas is on front of those states who want to have this connection and cooperation, this would be great. But I have the feeling and the fear that it is difficult for all our ECA members to go this way.
I think you're right. The Korea agreement that we are working on right now, which we will sign, as I mentioned, that was based on the Washington Accord. Lance, is that correct?
Yes, if I can. Texas, we have the flexibility to use the Washington Accord, to use ABET accreditation, or essentially in our law to look at any education requirements that are out there and see if they're sufficiently equivalent. So we also have the independence to do that on a case-by-case basis. So we've used different formats. Washington Accord, of course, makes it easier as it's a larger agreement. But we can also look at them individually. Once again, as Govind mentioned, though, that is on a state-by-state basis. There are other states in the United States that can't or won't, and things like that. So the way we kind of look at this is piece by piece, step by step, and we'll see how it would go. So that's what I can say on that. We do have the flexibility, and that's why we've been able to enter the agreements the way we've been able to enter.
And that is the reason Texas is the only state that has this agreement with this many countries, and no other state has those agreements except the bordering states along the Canada. After Texas did it, their legislators came back and said, if they can do it way far away from Canada, what's the problem with you all? And so some of the bordering states in Canada did it. When we did the agreement with JPEG, which is Japanese Engineering Council, I think Kentucky and North Carolina, they were the two other states went with us and made the agreement with them. But that agreement is totally different. That's a permanent base agreement, because what our agreement with the other countries is what we call a temporary licensure, which we give a 1-year licensure because our requirement is 3E, which is education, experience, and examinations. In this particular case, we give the license, temporary license, without them taking the examination. And we renew that licensure for 3 years. And within that 3 years, then you can understand it, agree, and take the examination and go the permanent licensure. Japanese JPEG agreement with us is that all they will bring it will be the people who already have taken both exams. So we don't have to worry about it. It's a 3E requirement fulfilled, so we give them a full permanent license. So just to add
What
to
is
that.
the difference with an engineer without license and with license? What can one do? Because
The temporary license and a permanent license is a similar level,
similar.
but you cannot practice more than 1 year.
Okay, it's just time effect.
Yes, time effect. And then you can have maximum up to 3 years. After 3 years, you cannot get that renewed.
So
By
need
that
to
time, you
make-
can.
You need to make an examination to
That is correct.
after 3 years, or you make an examination, or you are not anymore an engineer.
Correct. Well, you're still, yeah, but you're not licensed engineer.
Okay.
Right, correct, correct.
Well, it seems to be that we are able now to put forward an idea how to recognize the education from European countries in the United States. And it seems to be possible to make it quite quickly in this way. We are not able to agree upon this within the European Union.
Now, in European Union, we have this concept of temporary license. Okay, it's working. Temporary license exists today in the European Union. And it's working. Indeed, it's working.
You mean it is exactly the same background?
It is exactly what they are doing.
Okay. If it is the same background?
Yeah. It's well, we have several cases. For instance, in Lisbon, it's a guy from England, from anywhere, that wants to go to Portugal for a specific job for a certain period, and we give that temporary license. No,
But not generally in EU. It's
no, it's a directive. It's a directive from EU. Well, it's inside EU, not Europe. Okay, it's outside EU, not Europe. Because EU and Europe is not same thing. But inside EU, it's a directive. Yeah. Now it's working. You do the same here in Spain. Yeah. No, this concept exists. I think it's not up to 3 years. I think it's more or less 1 year.
No, it's only 1 year.
It's on-
Addressed to the contract, and it can be extended for the duration of.
It's for the contract.
Yeah,
It's for
but again, I'm not too much familiar with it, but my understanding is that only way you can get that temporary license is if you have a project in that country.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we don't have that restriction.
Yes.
That and so you are right. That's the reason I was coming out and going to say that if my understanding of the UE is correct, and I think you are saying that is correct, then there's that much difference.
Yes, and it will solve the problem with the United States quicker then.
If we have not seen anything yet.
Neither do I.
But
The
if-
information I was given was by the EU negotiating team just yesterday by a phone call.
At the dinner yesterday, what you told us, if that is true, then that would probably put more stronger emphasis of that side of working. But again, I'm going to emphasize it and make it clear to everyone that this will be only, I can speak only for state of Texas.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, not any other states, because that's all different licensing bodies. And so, yes, with state of Texas, that could happen. Spain approached us. Any other countries can approach us in that basis, and then we can start looking at it, see what their requirement is, if they're part of Washington Accord, whether they're part of their educational system is similar, like EBET, accredited system, and so forth.
There is a possibility Texas can sign an agreement with another state. Yeah.
It doesn't, it's not that simple. I'm talking about the United States, right?
It's simple. I'm not having simple, but it is possible.
I don't.
Let's say improper.
Improper?
I know improper, not proper.
Improper, yeah.
No more questions? Okay, second.
If I may
Oh, sorry,
expound,
sorry.
Roman
Go ahead,
handled
go ahead.
it as best anybody can because he's been so involved in these. I do want to reiterate what he mentioned, that we do represent all engineering practices. So that I think it's easiest, one, to come to the state you're looking for. If you're looking to, because we represent Texas only, yet we represent all engineers. So if you bring other engineering disciplines and organizations to the table, we would appreciate that as well.
and CICCP is assisting us with that. The second is, if you're looking at more than one state, as Govind said, we speak on behalf of what we call jokingly the Republic of Texas. We feel we're separate. We're not really, but we are part of the United States. But if you do want to be working with several states at one time, Govind, wouldn't it be best for them to also reach out to NCWS?
Well, NCWS can allow, based on my experience being on the board of NCWS in the past, NCWS will allow to have the meetings with different states. NCWS is not the licensing body. So NCWS cannot help you to get the licenses or influence to get the licenses in the other states. They will come out and say, to make that easier, take our exam, pass it, and then you go talk to other states.
Yet to have agreements with those states.
But to have the agreement with those states, NCWS can set up the meetings.
Yes.
Or help set up the meetings. But that's how far they will go. But if you have both exams, that's the most simplest way of getting the licensure, possible licensure. I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but possible licensure in the other multiple states in the United States. And what happens is if you get the licensure in one state, then it becomes the reciprocating system is easier in that aspect. I think Mr. Colon may have some more, he's involved on Puerto Rico side, so. But yeah, it's doable things, but probable, but not improbable. So.
Just you know, regarding topics, I think one of the good things to somehow be lucky is to somehow pilot a project without expecting anything.
Correct.
I wasn't expecting TTI. It was impromptu. Your presentation was impromptu. My phone call yesterday. I mean, everything is quite impromptu. But the issue here is, I think this is important, is that we should be able to articulate some coordinated action. Otherwise, not to bring further noise into the system that somehow may derail the different aspects of the other. So we have several parallel issues to discuss, with all the fact of the MRA itself, how to bring all other branches on board,
Disciplines, yeah.
disciplines on board. But I think we've got a good core to keep on working on that. And otherwise, I wouldn't say that. We need to bring the basics, build good foundations to the topic to enrich the agreement or the negotiation. When we already have basics, the basics in place.
Yeah,
just one guy. If an American engineer comes to Spain, how does it fit? The opposite way.
Now it's quite awkward. I mean, now that we're working now, and that is something which has to be. We are now requesting a change in legislation, and that will be something that is an option to be brought about in the new legislation to be brought from the transposition of the directive. Mm-hmm. In this case, we need to somehow be able to short circuit the system in the current
because if an American comes here, it does not fit in the European directive.
For example, no. I mean, the issue here is that what we're going to do is, because you need to transpose, and you need to transpose, what we're going to do is to expand the scope of temporary licensure and recognition for FTAs addressed either by the EU or bilaterally.
Okay.
So that would bring up this process of professional recognition outside other projects which may need academic recognition, which is much more open.
Yeah.
So that is the sidelines of we're working. Basically, because under the aegis of FTAs, as they are almost at the highest level of agreement, you are able to leverage public administrations in the member countries to be able to address or adapt their legislation to make it fit within the other.
Yeah.
That should be.
So the idea is to adopt the European directive to outsiders.
To extend, I would say to expand the
To
procedure
expand,
of
yeah.
of
To use the
other-
same concepts, but apply to
That-
people from outside
that's
Europe.
basically the idea.
Yeah, okay.
There are several differences on the grounds of how temporary licensure is addressed.
Yeah.
For example, the fact we are project oriented, while other sites on a time of timely. But we must bear in mind that this type of levels regarding FTAs is not only on the nuts and bolts of the MRA itself, which is and the next step, but also on the grounds that for example, the migratory effects that will be required. Because there's some needs for residents.
Yeah, but that appears also in America.
Right. But in order to bring the issue, for example, the temporary scope for the license, sometimes in some other countries has a direct relationship with the possibility of the migratory procedures. I mean, everything is somehow is a gear work you saw in my presentation some time ago. So we need to be able to connect the different gears.
And that's the point that I probably did not discuss. The temporary license in state of Texas, you cannot be the resident of United States, the legal resident of United States, or the citizen of United States. For getting or to be to qualify to get the temporary license, you have to be the national and the resident of that particular country.
Okay.
So if somebody comes from Canada who has a green card of United States and wants to come and get the temporary license in Texas, we don't give that anymore, right?
Yeah. So you only give that to foreigners.
Because it's a temporary license for that foreign citizen.
Yes. Okay.
For that particular person. If you're a resident of United States, then go follow and use all the directives and the requirements of United States. Then what you're doing otherwise is trying to circumvent the system. And we don't want to have that. So we want to, we did not had in the first one we did not put that thing in there, and then very quickly we found out. And so we closed, changed the rule and closed that loop. And so that opening was closed very quickly as soon as we found out.
Now it's clear.
So yeah, that was a good question or discussion that I picked it up and said, no, you cannot be the resident of United States to get that temporary license. Yes, sir.
For this temporary license, just to be a specific project, or it's just a license that you can pick up or any company?
You don't have to have a project to get the license. It's not a project basis. If you meet the requirements, then the MRA describes all the needed requirement. And then as long as you meet all the requirements, then you apply and fill out all the paperwork that State of Texas Licensing Board requires. And once you fulfill all those requirements, then you get the temporary license on a yearly basis, renewable for 2 more years, so a total of 3 years.
Anyway, as a foreigner, you cannot stay in states more than 6 months, I think, continuously.
It depends. Yeah, well, you can, if the project is long enough,
you can, but you must go out and come back and things like that.
It depends on the visa. It depends. So it's a multiple entry visa, 10-year multiple entry visa, or 5-year multiple entry visa, or a 6-month visa. It depends on what visa you get. And that depends sometimes on the projects that you have or whatever. But I'm not familiar with immigration laws. But when I came from India into United States, I had to, worry a little bit about that. But and then in my personal experience in my own company, we have the foreign nationals who graduated from college and that we hired. You're right; they get the H-1B visa for 3 years, but they have to go and get the stamp outside of the United States to come back to get that validity. So yeah, there are some rules and requirements.
But what is important professionally, they can have up to 3 years to
Correct.
work in states.
Yeah. So in Texas, not in states.
Sorry, in Texas.
Yeah, in Texas. Yeah, I have to be very careful, and that's the one thing we continuously talk about. When anybody says in states, we have to clarify and clear it up and say, no, not in states, only in Texas. So, but that answers your question? Okay. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And now we have scheduled the ECC Standing Committee's closing activity reports, but before we go to this point, I would like to ask Zygmunt Meyer to take floor and show the proposal of the Polish Chamber of Civil Engineers. Can you do this now?
Yeah, well, no one warned me that it will be my job. Perhaps I can do it. What do you mean, just education?
About this meeting in 2017.
Ah, yes, that I'm prepared to say.
No.
I was expecting that you asked me to present something else.
No. Only agreed matter.
Mr. President, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. I'm telling something in behalf of the President of the Polish Chamber of Civil Engineers, Mr. Andrzej Roch-Dobrucki. I was talking to him, in fact, it was yesterday, or day before, and he asked me to announce this proposal. In the year 2017, the Polish Chamber of Civil Engineers will be celebrating 15th anniversary. In fact, it was chartered in 2001, but it started in a different way. So anyway, it will be a 15th anniversary, and we are prepared to spend certain money for this and to celebrate it in a proper way. But in this case, it would be very good if we can combine this event with some international events. For example, an event could be if GAM of the ECCE is coming to Warsaw just to proceed a regular meeting and then one extraordinary on the occasion. Perhaps it's also possible that our sister organization, ECEC, is coming for GAM or EXBO and is celebrating, proceeding and then later celebrating. Maybe it's a good idea if we can invite another organization. It's according to the voices from the discussion. And we can even introduce so-called Warsaw Declaration at that time on certain subject. And what is essential? Essential is that it will be very good if we can combine it together with the European Year of Civil Engineering, of engineering, or engineering. And in this case, everything could start, let's say, in the month November 17 and can last until next year, let's say, until December. So altogether will be 14 months. But it is only a proposal. So it is a proposal that we can start this year in Poland, in Warsaw, in November, for example, and then it can be continued in Brussels, as usually, the Day of Engineers, maybe another events, just to bring closer to not only politicians, but also all the citizens, the role that the civil engineers are playing in the whole social and cultural development. So if it is unclear, then obviously I can answer any question, but that is a proposal to start the Year of Engineers in November 17 in Warsaw with such an event and even with a declaration. We are prepared to celebrate it, and you are welcome. Even if we don't agree that we start with this European Engineer Day in Warsaw, we are also invited. Yes, was it clear?
Any question, please? You know, it is an idea now, but I think this idea was to think about this.
Well,
it could be very valuable
yes,
initiative because we can.
It's an appeal to all of you, to all of you. If it is possible that the executive body of the ECCE is coming together just to discuss it, and then another executive body is discussing, and when the reply is coming, yes, but we will be grateful for this.
So it is combining with our plans of European Year of Civil Engineers. We will go to the subject a little bit later, but now I would like to say a few words about this, that we are discussing about this initiative for, it is almost, it's more than 1 year. It was submitted by Andrzej Dobrucki, president of the Polish Chamber, in October in Warsaw during our 60th General Assembly in Warsaw.
Yes, it was Sheraton.
Yes, it was the first announcement of this idea. After this, during my visit in London and during my talks, meetings with Nick Bavistock, we agreed an idea that if we can organize, appoint this year of civil engineers, this European year, we can combine this initiative with a year of civil engineers already fixed for UK for 2018. So all these ideas we can put together and start this year a little bit earlier in November.
Yes, for example.
In November, for example, in Warsaw, and finish in Brussels at the autumn of 2018.
Yeah.
So it could be very, very valuable and good idea. It's difficult to say meeting. It's a whole year of civil engineers in Warsaw.
Events, yeah.
A lot, yes, a few events. And I would like to ask you now on this stage for your acceptance for this idea. If we if we reach your acceptance now, we can start as an expo to work on this idea, to discuss and organize the details. So
to prepare a proposal and to send it.
Yes, okay. So I would like to ask you if you are giving us, Expo, the permission for organizing in details this idea. Please, who want to support and give us permission, give to the Expo the permission for work on this idea. Please raise hand. Who is against? So, thank you very much. We took anonymous decision supporting this idea. Thank you, Zygmunt, for your proposition and offer. Thank you very much. George, please.
I would like to remind that we have suggested to have to fix a day for Civil Engineers Day each year, to fix a day, and we don't know what is the progress of that. Instead of having 1 year to celebrate for civil engineering, to have a day each year to celebrate.
Well, maybe it will be a matter of declaration.
Combine this and have this announcement during this event.
Yes, exactly. So we can start with a year, and then every next year there will be a day, and it will come from the declaration in Warsaw.
Well, George, I think, yes, I think that in fact these two propositions is not against itself, because you know the year of civil engineers in Europe, it is a not common idea. It's wouldn't be every year or every 2 years. It is a big and ambitious idea. So I think the fixed day of civil engineers in Europe, you think Europe, it is something different. In this case, we can combine this idea together. But for future, we can go back to the fixing the date for civil engineers in Europe. But this time, I prefer to work on organizing all this idea in one event. One event which we will continue for 1 year. Okay?
Yes. A chain of events.
Yes.
It's starting in November.
Any questions to Zygmunt? No. Thank you,
Thank you.
Zygmunt.
It was my pleasure.
I would like to underline that we just accepted as a General Assembly your proposition and idea of all these meetings putting together as a kind of a jubilee of civil engineers in Europe.
Yeah, for example.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we can start the session, the closing session of standing committees. I would like to ask chairman of standing committees or vice chairman to come up to the microphone and present their closing reports. Which we ought to start? Environment, custom. Yes. Standing Committee on Environment and Sustainability. Please, Carsten, take floor.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I start with the closing report of the standing committees, starting with a farewell to this institution. Short history of our standing committee, as you can see, dated in 2012. We had a actual chair. I should go further on a little bit. I wrote a letter to the president at that time and picked up what you find on our ECHE website at the end of each page. Civil engineers at the heart of society, building life quality and a sustainable environment. But there was no standing committee any longer concerning environment and sustainability. At the 56th ECHE General Meeting in Dubrovnik, this standing committee was installed again. No, this was the wrong one.
No, you need to point somewhere.
Show it here.
Yeah.
Oh, I take it.
Yeah.
It's better here. So from then, this means from the Prague meeting, 57th ECHE meeting, and to the 62nd General Assembly in Lisbon, ECHE dealt with the following topics. The most important one is number one, water and wastewater treatment. And this was in connection with the second ECHE conference on water management in Europe, which was held in Cyprus at the 58th ECHE meeting, and which was very much managed by the vice chairman of the standing committee, George Dimitri. The second big task was the development of a questionnaire concerning all the water topics as monitoring and assessment of surface and groundwater, managing water resources, and water loss management. These three topics seem to be very important, but the results from all our ECHE members were very poor. So, point 3, we developed and distributed an online questionnaire done by George Demetriou again about general environmental topics. And this was a very successful questionnaire. It has been answered by 263 individuals from 20 countries. And this has been worked out statistically by George and was published and presented at the 59th ECHE General Assembly in Tbilisi, Georgia. I think this questionnaire and its results was a very successful work of the Standing Committee and thus for ECHE 2. The fourth remarkable point was that we started with a position paper in a very early stage where we are not very sure what is meant by saying position paper, who will be addressed by such a position paper, and how long it should be, and so on and so on. We looked for a connection to water as we used it in all the other points of our work, and so we found out the water energy nexus, which is very nicely demonstrated by this picture, the candlelight of water. This position paper was presented at the ECHE General Assembly in Warsaw, the 60th, and in more detail in Naples during the 61st ECHE General Assembly there. And I think this position paper will find the way again to the Expo and to the President, and this, of course, then shall obey all the demands as given and also all the requirements as described to come up with a position paper. Then the Standing Committee had a contribution to the ECHE Journal, 7 pages at least, on a water report, and it dealt with nearly all aspects of water as worked on in the Standing Committee. You can read it still if you ask for it on the website of ECHE. Additional activities on issues concerning environment and sustainability were that the Standing Committee asked the Expo and General Assembly to cooperate with the WFAO with respect to renewable energy use. As you may remember, I'm chairman of the Solar Energy Group in the Standing Committee Energy of the WFAO. And if you are interested to read about solar energy, just have a look on the WFAO website. In August this year, there you will find my about 60 pages brochure on solar energy. We also try to cooperate with the World Council of Civil Engineers with all aspects of water use and reuse. At that time, Thomas Sanchez was the president of WCC, and he, as a waterman, was and still is very active in all questions of water worldwide and very successful. Then the third approach was concerning GIAC, Global Infrastructure Anti-Corruption Center. It's an anti-corruption work in general, and in more detail, it involved work in the development of the ISO 37001 anti-bribery management system. Last year, I implemented an association, GIAC Germany, together with a mother in London, and we think this is very necessary to involve all our members, because this anti-bribery management system comes into power in the end of this year, and it touches all kind of work, all companies, whether small or big, and it is demanding, it is a standard under the umbrella of the compliance management system, and this means a standard, it's demanding, and it can bring you to be penalized if you don't follow it, whereas compliance management is just an offer to work this way. If you don't want to have too big risk finding the respective partners in your business. Standing committee also was internationally rather active. We, as the chairman, was invited by our Czech colleague to give a speech on green energy in Germany at the first Engineers Day of the Czech Chamber of Engineers in Brno. I participated in the Brussels conference on high performance buildings. I was talking about sustainable energy in China in 2013, always with the head of ECE. Another China speech was in 2015, also concerning solar energy. And at least the fifth work has been done last year in December in Kyoto at the conference of WFAO to come up with this brochure on solar energy. The final statement, and I do hope that I can still be followed by our members. The Standing Committee is very thankful for the acknowledgement of the ECE members and the Expo, and is proud to have done some work to serve ECE internationally. ECE Standing Committee and Environment and Sustainability, on the other side, supports the new ECE way to produce high quality position papers, and we followed this way rather early. And the members still are willing to participate in these new directions and referring to the former activities. ECE is thanking you for all your understanding and continuous support, and wishes all success on the new professional way. And very likely this can be my last words within the ECE family. Thank you.
Thank you, Carsten.
Later. Here. Who will be the next?
Now I'm inviting Professor Manoliu to take the floor. It's been a standing committee, education and training. Please, Professor.
So this is a closing report. Actually, the closing session, I realize is going to be a little bit later. I was asked to prepare a brief report of the activities of our standing committee in the past few years. I remind you that our committee was established 10 years ago, almost, in the General Assembly. Yes. In Brussels. And there were, as you know, a number of terms of reference established by the AK Executive Board, which meant to follow the development of the civil engineering curricula and educational systems in the world, which AK could do because it was a member of a network, project network, USET, which was actually very much involved in this development related to the Bologna process. Then to inform the AK members of the European Civil Community about the development, as I said, to reflect the educational needs and requirements of the profession resulting from the development and civil engineering practice to the educational institution and to the policy-making bodies, to participate in the activities of the European Association, European projects concerning civil engineering education, and indeed, complying with these terms of reference, our committee undertook in recent years surveys and produced reports. Of course, the surveys were possible with the participation of a good number of members of AK. The themes which were taken was changes induced by the Bologna process in civil education in Europe, and the involvement of AK members in the accreditation of civil engineering programs in Europe, developments in European projects and networks of relevance for civil engineering education and profession in Europe, involvement of AK members in continuous professional development activities, and the last one, study on the practical placement, internships of civil engineering students and the support given by AK members to this activity. As I already said, AK was partnered in the project USET meaning European Civil Engineering Education and Training, which developed between 1998 and 2010, so for almost 12 years, with the support of 4 grants from the European Commission, and AK became a founding member of the USET Association, which was created after as a kind of normal follow-up of this USET project. Myself as a chair and a colleague from Croatia, Professor Barbara Carusa, we attended and contributed to the CRAIU EU conference, Employability of Engineering Graduates, Vision of the Future, which took place in March 2014 in Brussels. And that was described in the AK newsletter number 5 in the same year. Almost 2 years ago, our standing committee, in cooperation with the Czech Chamber of Chartered Engineers, actually, not to last year, actually, 2015, with the Czech Chamber of Chartered Engineer Technician, of course, with the support of Professor Materna, organized in Prague the workshop Lifelong Learning in Civil Engineering Profession in Europe. It was actually the first and the last, I think, in the independent activity our standing committee could organize, an activity outside the regular 1 hour meeting we were given in the General Assembly twice a year. As for the ECHE position paper related to the area of activity, we propose and have already a draft for the topic continuous professional development of European civil engineers, major fields of cooperation among academic institutions, construction, industry, and professional association. And I'd like you to allow me to make just some personal notes to this report. This meeting in Madrid, exactly, but in this very palace, I might say, of Colegio, but not in the same room, takes place exactly almost 20 years after another meeting in Madrid in May '96, when the Union of Association of Civil Engineers of Romania, UICL, was admitted as member of ECHE. Our association of union was represented by its president, Professor Panaite Marzilu, who was celebrated on March 21st, 2015 for his 100th anniversary, and then passed away 2 months later, but not before making sure that the Association of Civil Engineers of Romania, represented by my colleague, young colleague Mitka, became associate member of ECHE, replacing the union, which was no more able to cover, the fee, rather high fee, as full member. So the union was for a good period of time a very active member of ECHE, and some of you remember, organized and hosted in Bucharest 2 ECHE meetings in May '98 and then in May 2010. As for myself, I attended all ECHE meetings, beginning with the one in London in October '94, with only one exception, the meeting in Athens in October 2007, which unfortunately coincided in time with the geotechnical conference in Brisbane. I could not miss. So this was what I wanted to say you. And of course, I can only follow my colleague, Professor Arens, who like Professor Matena, was also a very active member of the EUSET project, saying that the new strategy of ECHE will be successful and will, of course, also have education and training among the priorities.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Next one is Ruben from Knowledge and Technology.
Next standing committee is Standing Committee for Knowledge and Technology. Ruben, please take floor.
So good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. President. I will give you an overview of what we've been doing in the past few years. Basically, in this slide, you can see the main areas of activity, which we were working on. When I took over as chairman 2-3 years ago from Professor Saria, I set out targets which were focused in task groups, task forces. The idea was to have a deliverable, clear deliverable over the term of activity, a defined term of activity. And there were 4 targets, principally, in my proposal. The first one concerned a survey inspired by the president at the time, Professor Branco, who gave the initial suggestion, and we developed a survey to assess the situation of civil engineering with a longer term perspective, rather to see what will the profession be like in 10-15 years' time. The other activity concerned a task force dealing with service life engineering, life cycle analysis, and the use of IT technology, use of IT in terms of BIM. The third activities concerned resource efficiency, started previously by the previous chairman, and which we focused onto eventually the new direction in Europe concerning the circular economy. And finally, the idea of communicating between meetings, having the opportunity to communicate with each other between meetings, and involving engineers in different countries, and creating also a LinkedIn group. Now, this worked perfectly because we involved many engineers from all over Europe who focused on the task, which was life cycle analysis and BIM. They worked voluntarily. They were coming from all over Europe, and we met every 2 weeks on Skype, and we managed to promote 2 initiatives, as I will explain. So basically, these are the activities which focused on tasks rather than the traditional discussions in the working group. So with the priorities in knowledge and technologies, we started off with information, therefore, and communicating the information, and also looking at how to organize ourselves. So as I said, the initiative was based on involving engineers from our countries, not necessarily people here in this room, but people coming from our organizations who are experts, real experts into specific areas. And let's start off with the survey. We launched a survey as a first step, which was completed, and the results were presented in a General Assembly. And the survey was discussed and developed within our group here in a meeting. It was proposed as a survey of trends. So the idea is to continue doing this survey in the coming meetings. And in fact, we have the second run of the survey ready with all the questions set. And through this survey, analyze the key areas in civil engineering. So this is the background to the survey. I will not go into the details. You can find the details online through the link which Maria provided in the final report. And the second initiative, therefore, LinkedIn group, web-based communication. The LinkedIn group was not the most successful initiative, I must say. There are a few members, a good number of members from here, but not everybody is a member. But the idea of meeting in between General Assemblies worked fine. We had regular meetings for a year and a half. We didn't have any meetings since the last General Assembly in Prague, because we're concluding this initiative then. However, we worked fine with WebEx and Skype, and we had regular meetings, as I said, every 2 weeks. This worked perfectly, and we managed to come up with the BIM LCA initiative. The idea of this communication was to have opportunity to involve experts, but also to communicate more between meetings. Also to involve people who are not here in meetings. And I think this was successful, and in principle, it helped build the outputs which I will show you. The idea of having a clear deliverable was also important. And rather than discussing from a meeting to the next, we thought of delivering with something concrete, with the results of a survey first, with the set questions, with this Vision 2025 for civil engineering, which is completed. The idea of a BIM Europe-wide Atlas, which is also a complete deliverable. So there are clear deliverables which are useful for ECHE. which serve the basis of position papers and so on. And the idea of involving experts. This is difficult because experts get paid normally. So what was the incentive? The incentive was very basic. You involve experts who are delivering on their area of expertise as part of their everyday activity anyway. So they were willing to contribute, and we got leaders from the UK, from Germany, and from other countries. But we also got people who are willing to listen, to learn from other people's experiences and use this initiative in their own countries. And this concerned BIM and life cycle analysis. This led to clear definition of survey methodologies, which form the basis of a position paper. Now, for Division 2025 survey, the trends in civil engineering, the first survey was launched in Dubrovnik, published in Lisbon, and eventually in Georgia we launched a second survey, and eventually we are in a position now, we have a complete set of questions which have been vetted by different members and different experts. These were the results from the first survey. Many countries participated, and we managed through this survey to get a highlight of what are the worrying issues in civil engineering. For the second survey, we devised a different approach, looking at what is the purpose, which method which should we use to get a larger audience, who is the target audience, who is waiting, who is expecting these results, to whom are these results useful, and how then to publish and disseminate them, ideally online to reach a wide audience. But also making sure these are useful results for education institutions, industry, and other stakeholders. This would also make ECHA relevant to these organizations. The principle is analyzing what is happening, looking at different tools, having the survey as a survey of trends. So with time, we can get, it's like a barometer. You assess what is happening with time in civil engineering. And therefore we can anticipate the problems which can come along in the coming years. So it's a time series analysis. These are the principal targets of the second survey, which is presented in the final report. Some colleagues were active initially in supporting the idea, the goals, with very constructive criticism, useful criticism. These are the details for the survey questions, the action plan, survey questions from survey 1, and then the follow-up for the second survey, where we have basically inspiration from the ASHE, from the American Society of Civil Engineers Vision 2025 survey, which we thought was successful. So the idea is to have a Europe-wide similar survey and to have this 5-year perspective, but also a longer-term perspective. So in the group, we discussed short-term and longer-term perspectives and how to anticipate trends in civil engineering. Looking at the survey technique, looking at the need for further comments by people, also to assess regional differences, and surely to have a simple approach. People are busy. To answer a survey, one needs to make sure it's short, focused, and practical. So we were encouraging people to participate in the survey. The BIM Lifecycle Analysis Task Force. This was launched after the results of the first survey were analyzed. So from the results of the first survey, we got an indication that in many countries, data processing, service life engineering was very important. This led us to develop an initiative based on experts in BIM, building information modeling, and lifecycle engineering. We got all these experts who were coming from academia, the profession, and many people here nominated leaders in their countries in this field. That's what made it successful. So thank you for the support. This also got people engaged beyond this group, so they got to know what ECHA stands for, what we stand for, and what is the aim of being part of ECHA. And to be honest, with my group in Malta, it was one of the items which convinced them that ECHA is relevant and important, because they could see results coming out, besides other useful initiatives of ECHA, of course. We got experts to submit a CV, to submit an introduction. We were overwhelmed with the support because many were so enthusiastic with this. They were there every week discussed, not every week, sorry, every 2 weeks. We had weekly meetings with the core team, and it was surprising how people can voluntarily support as long as they see that there is a deliverable. We promised that a deliverable in terms of a survey and an output, even an ebook if need be, which is not expensive. We have not delivered that yet. I hope that in the coming initiative, as proposed by the chairman and by Expo in the last meeting, which we support, there will be the opportunity to go to the second stage of what we did and transform this groundwork into something practical. What we promised to all these enthusiastic engineers and academics. And one thing which is important is that in this field, we were realizing that the interest was coming because we were the leaders. So people were are waiting for what we can come up with, because this is a unique opportunity of having so many countries officially represented in one place and contributing into something useful and new. We divided the group into 2 focus areas with clear deliverables because it was too big. So the first group is looking at Europe-wide survey, and the second group is looking at how to look at the lifetime of a building, how to implement documentation and building information modeling into the lifetime. So the state of BIM survey, it's like a barometer for BIM, and the other one is more academic, but useful in the long term, because people are concerned now how to do maintenance in buildings, how to carry out maintenance of infrastructure. It offered a new approach to a standing committee, so we departed from the traditional standing committee discussing at general assemblies, and we went towards task-oriented, focused tasks with deliverables. And we focused on online communication and having regular meetings. We focused on a time frame, therefore deliverables in a time frame. Like, for example, what Goraz was doing with the books on with the book on bridges, with the book on industrial heritage. There is a clear deliverable over a time frame, and this was the idea. And one important thing, getting experts. I am not an expert in everything. We are not an expert in everything. So for a particular item, we get an expert in that field from our countries who can represent us. And finally, therefore, getting nominations of these experts to work on this activity. One output is the BIM LCA Euro Atlas. It's something on these terms. This is an output from a European project where I was chairman of a working group. So we had funding to do this, and it was a suburban atlas. It was an atlas for the state of maintenance of suburban housing all over Europe. So the idea was to have an online tool similar to this initiative, supported with a publication, assessing the state of BIM, how it's developing all over Europe, how it can be relevant to other countries, based on real feedback from these countries. The task force, therefore, was working at different levels, even with government entities. In the UK and in Germany, we managed to get real concrete output, even because these countries were enforcing the use of BIM at the time, starting to enforce it. So they were also very interested in what we were doing as a European organization. In conclusion, then we have a survey. It's also being presented as part of the final report, hoping that it will materialize in the coming few weeks and months into something concrete, because it's complete now. It went through a lot of checking by different members in the group, real experts in specific areas, because for some parts we needed experts. I remember someone from Portugal, for example, supporting a lot on the maintenance part and BIM. Someone from Poland who was really in the field working in the UK. So, you know, these experts could really provide useful feedback. Etkel Glen Group, I mentioned, it was not, well, I think it worked. The problem is that we managed to make this successful through these regular meetings, but surely having, exploiting social networking, free social network is useful. We all do it, I think, in different ways. How successful it can be at Etkel level would also depend on how much our members in the different organizations can involve themselves. And because it cannot be a group restricted to only us here, I think. It will also disseminate these useful ideas, like the idea of a membership of ECHE, which Fernando was promoting earlier, which can reach a large audience through these social networks, which we possibly all have in our respective countries. So this is our ECHA LinkedIn group. So yes, the idea was to promote membership. Circular economy, we started discussing this. It's very important as a topic, as you know, in European Forum. We managed to get the European Commission and the European Commissioner actually for the environment to be present in a conference which I am organizing as an academic this time, wearing the hat of an academic at the university, to convince to come to Malta as a delegation from Europe, precisely because this international conference we're organizing in Malta mid-March is focusing on this. And they are willing to listen to what the experts are saying. So I think for the future, focusing on key areas which are of interest to the community, because we are there to service the community. We are there to, as a service to society. So seeing how to bridge this gap, well, if there is a gap, because I think we are very relevant already, but focusing on these key areas is a priority in these new initiatives, which as a group, I support what the previous speakers were saying. We support because we support the idea, even because as a group we started focusing on deliverables and tasks within timeframes earlier, 2-3 years ago. So we cannot but support this important way forward for ECHA. So yes, the circular economy is one of those items which are so important. And finally, I would like to thank for all the support and initiatives, because this wouldn't have been possible, all this work, without their support. The country representatives giving all their ideas, inviting members of the group to share their knowledge, Professor Materna, so many people meeting and discussing in different countries. The BIM-LCA task force members who voluntarily, without interest, were giving so much time in between meetings, the Trends Task Force for the surveys, and the Circular Economy Group in discussing these initiatives. So thank you all for the support during these 3 years.
Thank you, Ruben. I'm sure that most of the best defined projects and advanced projects from standing committees will be offered to us as a position paper starting from Madrid. Thank you.
Next one is associate membership.
The next one is the standing committee for associated membership. Bora, please say a few words about this standing committee.
Dear colleagues and dear guests, well, after the Ruben's detailed presentation, mine will be much shorter without the usage of any technological tools like PowerPoint. But maybe that's good because now you look very sleepy and tired, I guess. So it was a good thing. I think in Spain they eat late lunches and dinners, so it's maybe a shock for some of us. So, but we'll get used to it. Yes. This is one of the youngest standing committees among the others. It has been established by the initiative by late Vasilis Economopoulos. Well, I wish he were here today because he will give much more a better speech, because as he has this unmatched rhetoric. The proposal made in Dubrovnik at the 56th ECHA meeting, and it has been unanimously accepted by the General Assembly. And in the 57th ECHA meeting, which took place in Lisbon, I was offered the vice chairman position, and I accepted it. The main idea behind establishing the associate membership standing committee was basically to attract, especially from the private sector, new associate members, which will eventually raise the influence of the ECCE within the private sector and in other NGOs. And in turn, this will provide an extra revenue for the council. Well, as I told you, this is a very nascent standing committee. It was 3 years old. Well, I wouldn't say it achieved all the goals it set up due to some time constraints and some other issues. So within this time frame of 3 years, what we did, most of the workload had been carried out by Mr. Economopoulos. Meanwhile, I personally tried to contact with some private construction companies, mostly in the Turkish market, to attract them to the ECCE. Well, we had some correspondence, even though this has to be still finalized. So my conclusion will be like this. As we are going through a restructuring and reorganizing within the ECCE, I think this associate membership idea should be again carried out in maybe some other forum, because as we have more associate members from the private sector or from other NGOs, this will be a very good thing for our organization. So this is my, this is the, well, you can find my activity report on the web. It's a brief report. Plus there are other working packages that have been sent before by the Economopoulos, so they can be followed. So for the future reference, I would suggest, I think we should have this kind of activity going on in the new structure of the ECC. Thank you for listening me.
Thank you for that. The next committee is Standing Committee for Development and Business Environment. Aris Hatzidakis, please take the floor.
The title of this standing committee is very wide, so we understand that in some way you should include, of course, mutual recognition and all the directive story in this under this committee, but as you know, this was treated apart. But we as committee also followed the various steps of all this big story. It's not the time to come back. All these years I've been vice president under Karl-Heinz. After the retirement of Karl-Heinz, there was a short period with the English colleague Hamish Douglas, and as he's not here now, I took the floor to present our activity. All these years, the main information came through Karl-Heinz, who was very active at the beginning when what he knew about with the community staff was very fresh, and he was very useful because he had contacts with the people in the bureaucracy of the United Europe. But after the years, he had no more privileged information by the community, so he was mainly transferring the information gathered in the ECF, the European Construction Forum, which was a very useful and crucial European body about construction matters. And I think that ECHE has underestimated the importance of participating in the ECF. I must say that the architects, the ACE, is very active in this European Construction Forum. And of course, the leading organization there is FIEC, which is very strong. And I think that ECHE representation with a member that was not even an engineer and could not understand the importance of various things that were discussed there, was not the best way to participate in such a important body. The only thing that we did a good work was the strategy for the construction that Franco undertook the task to go to the high tripartite forum, and it was the only matter discussed in this very important construction forum that we really react and did take place. I think that a lot of important things were discussed there. I must just remind you the whole story about Renovate Europe. It was a very big initiative that we didn't really took place. I must say all the discussions about the Connecting Europe facility, that was, the opportunities about investments in Europe that were discussed largely in this forum that we didn't even took any idea. And, well, this is now past. It is not so important to remember these things. I think that in the future, it would be very useful if ECHE would be represented in the European Construction Forum with an adequate way, with an engineer who could really react and take the ideas from there and appreciate the importance, etc., etc. Other matters that were discussed this period in our committee were of course, the public procurement directives. They are now incorporated. Practically all member states have implemented the directives until April. I think the time limit is April 2016, but practically even Greece has incorporated now, is now incorporating. And for the other matters that were discussed there but didn't come to ECHE was the effort to try to homogenize liability through Europe countries, construction liability, which was a very, very serious matter that, well, under it is a very complicated matter and it didn't succeed to proceed, but it is still on the table. And from the matters that I think that in the near future we should try to give our attention, because it is very important for the construction industry and our profession, would be the circular economy mentioned by the previous speaker, and its implication on the construction industry, because waste management and the construction waste is very serious. FIEC also has posed the question, who pays the cost of all this construction waste management, which is now a very serious matter in all the countries. And I should add the new generation of Eurocodes, that it's now up to be discussed, Eurocodes on new aspects of essential requirements that we have not touched yet, not only stability, etc., but things having to do with the environment, with the health of people inside buildings, etc., etc. So I think this is my vice chairman report about what I felt all these years in this standing committee, which I think that had a lot of real questions of the profession to put down, and I don't think that we have done it adequately. So I think in the near future there are some position papers who will be urgent to pose. I have two propose today, but it's not now the subject, so I'll come back. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Aris. I get an idea to make a break for lunch now, and our evening session, we will start from Gorazd and Task Force for Heritage. Yes, Gorazd? 5 minutes? So please, please take floor.
So, dear colleagues and friends, I would like to tell you about the 3 projects we have developed and realized within the task force Civil Engineering Heritage. The first one where this task force was involved was the international conference about seismic protection of cultural heritage held in Antalya in Turkey, organized together with the EKE World Council and the Turkish Council of Civil Engineers. It was a successful conference giving some guidelines for conservation and protection of cultural heritage. The second project, I will talk now about the 2 projects which you know very well. These are the 2 books. The first one, Civil Engineering Heritage in Europe. It is the first book issued 6 years ago. Presenting most interesting projects realized even in the history, in the past and in the present in Europe, where most of EKE members were involved. This was really a huge project, and we made a good presentation of what this civil engineering science, if I say so, is able and capable to do. The second book, named Footbridges, was a presentation of about 200 footbridges within Europe and 16 in Japan. And it was practically a continuation of the first book. I am very glad that all EKE members contributed to both projects. This is very important. In both projects, I think that about 150 contributors of photographs, text, they were providing this material, what is very important. I can say also that I always had the big support of the executive board, what is very important, that we were able to realize these 2 quite huge projects. At the end, I would like to thank you very much for the contribution. And final word, I hope that the spirit of the conservation and the spirit of the civil engineering heritage will remain in EKE. Thank you.
Thank you, Gorazd. Thank you very much. We reached the break for lunch. Thank you for your active participation in the first session. Yes? Yes, until 3 o'clock, exactly.